JV's true identity was finally revealed. Who would have thought? The one who looked most like a zombie was actually a sharp-looking young man with glowing green eyes. And more shocking, he was the very first child ever born between two zombies. Centuries ago, the world had been swallowed by a sudden zombie outbreak. Humanity, desperate to survive, was forced into hiding at the edges of the world, building massive walls to keep the undead out. With nothing but primitive weapons, they struggled to defend themselves. Until one day, the creation of a new military division changed everything. Its members possessed terrifying power, sometimes even more brutal than the zombies themselves. In less than 10 years, they drove the zombies back. Captured zombies were turned into living generators. Others were auctioned off like goods on display. They even built zombie zoos for people's entertainment. The few zombies who escaped formed scattered tribes, forced to hide at the world's edges. They clung to survival by drinking discarded oil and scavenging trash. After centuries of mindless wandering, at last, a female zombie began to awaken her thoughts. She couldn't understand, why were humans so strong? How did they build civilization? So she began imitating them. 3 meals a day, go to bed early, waking with the sun. In the end, she reached a conclusion. The reason humans could build civilization was because they could reproduce. So she imitated them, wandering the streets every day, trying to attract mates. And one day, to her shock, she discovered she was truly pregnant. After a long, grueling 13 months, she gave birth to the very first zombie child and named him AJV. But AJV's childhood was nothing short of miserable. Ever since his mother became the only pregnant zombie, she had been targeted by hostile stares, bullied, and shunned by her own kind. And once AJV was born, they cast her out completely as an abomination. To protect and raise her infant son, she roamed across ruined cities, trying to join other zombie groups. But every time, they rejected her as an outcast. At last, for the sake of AJV's future, she chose to settle near human society. But with her monstrous appearance, she could never step openly among humans. So it fell to little 3-year-old AJV to beg on the streets, barely keeping them alive. Under his zombie mother's care, AJV slowly grew up, always living in the city disguised as a human. As he grew older, with compulsory education enforced by humans, AJV began attending school during the day. At night, he worked part-time in small shops. Thanks to his zombie stamina, he never felt tired, and on weekends he even took multiple jobs to help with the bills. Sometimes he was overwhelmed by the urge to devour humans, but he forced himself to hold back. After all, his mother had risked her life to bring him here, hoping he could live like a real human. So he made a silent vow. He would study hard and one day, by his own hands, buy his mom a car and a big house. But everything shattered when a sudden zombie outbreak hit the city. To save his senior classmate, AJV had no choice but to reveal his true nature and transform into a zombie. And on his very first day at work, after firing the boss of Mill Powder Store No. 1, his life took a drastic turn. That day, 17-year-old AJV, under his senior's introduction, started working in a supermarket. Seeing him standing there blankly, the senior scolded, "What are you spacing out for? Hurry up and help." Snapping out of it, he quickly stepped forward and took the box from her hands. Just as she let out a sigh of relief, she immediately noticed the wounds on his face. Without hesitation, she pulled him behind the counter, carefully tending to his injuries while asking if he had been bullied again. The truth was, as a zombie living among humans, he was terrified of them. His timidity made him an easy target for bullies. The senior lectured him, "Humans are cruel. Bullying happens all the time. If you keep looking weak, of course they'll pick on you. But if you fight back, no one will dare mess with you." "Got it." With his head lowered, JV muttered softly, "Got it." Just then, the supermarket boss walked over. "Customers are here, go greet them." Outside, a truck had pulled up. JV thought it was Jiangxi delivering supplies for the townsfolk, but it turned out to be just a random hauler. The senior hurried to the shelves, searching for the requested goods. But as she bent down to check the labels, the boss suddenly appeared behind her, pulling out his phone to snap photos. This scene was caught by AJV. When the boss turned his gaze toward him, AJV instantly looked away, stammering that he hadn't seen anything. Still, the boss grabbed him by the collar and snarled, "Kid, you'd better keep your mouth shut." Then he ordered him to take the driver to the warehouse to haul cargo. On the way, the driver warned him, "That boss is infamous around here. 60. He lures college girls in with high pay, then preys on them. Your senior, she might not escape his claws." AJV's mind spun. Save her, or stay silent. Suddenly, a chilling roar echoed from a distance, a sound he knew all too well. Zombies. They were launching an attack on the city. The driver leaned out, scanning the streets nervously. But AJV ignored him, jumped out of the truck, and bolted straight back toward the supermarket. When he arrived, the sight before him left him stunned. In front of the Milk Powder No. 1 supermarket, the bitten humans were already mutating, and the infected boss shoved the senior to the ground. With a twisted grin, he forced her legs apart. "I'm dying anyway, so before I go, you're mine." But before he could finish his words, his face stiffened. Something was wrong. His cheek twisted and warped as his body began to mutate. The senior let out a sharp scream. Hearing it, AJV's heart jolted. He froze, torn in hesitation. His mother's warning echoed in his mind. This city wasn't easy to reach. Never cause trouble, and never let anyone see your true form. Understand? That was why he had endured humiliation all this time, swallowing every insult. But now, with his senior in danger, he could no longer hold back. His left hand instantly morphed into a giant saw. His face and hair shifted as well, changing before their eyes. In the blink of an eye, he became the AJV we all knew. As the snarling zombies charged, AJV slashed with a sharp shichike, vanishing and reappearing behind them. The street rang with wet, slicing sounds, pu-pu-pu-pu. In an instant, the zombies were hacked into pieces, just as the mutated boss reached for the senior. A sickening squelch rang out. His body was split clean in half. When the senior dared to open her eyes again, she saw AJV carving up the boss's corpse, muttering through clenched teeth, "You think you can bully me? Come on, get up and try again." By now, the boss was nothing but mangled chunks. Horrified, the senior squeezed her eyes shut, unable to look any longer. Just then, several zombies staggered toward them. AJV stepped into the doorway, blocking the path. His voice turned cold. "One more step, and you're dead." And so, on his very first day of work, AJV split his boss clean in half. Afterward, he even collected his wages and bought some nearly rotten meat. With his heart pounding, he headed home in fear of what was to come. First day on the job, and I already killed the boss. How am I supposed to explain this to Mom? Before long, he arrived at a rundown apartment building. He lingered at the doorway for a moment, then finally gathered his courage and pushed the door open. Inside, a beautiful female zombie was cooking. Beaming with joy, she called out, "AJV, you're back. Come sit, dinner's ready." Meanwhile, after the zombie assault in the city, police had cordoned off the area. A red-haired girl stood before the ruins, lost in thought. As the only survivor of the Milk Powder No. 1 supermarket, the senior gave her statement to reporters, but never mentioned AJV. She simply claimed she was too terrified, fainted, and remembered nothing. Just then, a subordinate approached the red-haired girl. "Miss, this is the surveillance footage we recovered." On the screen was a shocking scene. AJV locked in combat with a massive Type A Corpse King. The girl took the tablet from her subordinate. On screen, AJV was swinging his chainsaw with feral intensity. The massive Type A Corpse King, several times his size, didn't even get the chance to react before being cleaved in half. The subordinate pointed toward the cracks running down the highway, and a skyscraper split clean in two. This little zombie is vicious. He not only shredded the Corpse King in mince, he devoured every last piece. The scene shifted back to AJV at home. His mother straightened his clothes while reminding him, "When you're at school, Listen to your teachers,